Good morning, and thank you for stopping by. My name is Miss Daredevil, and today I thought we would try something a little different. Today, I thought I would tell you a story about the worst summer of my life, which may sound a little dramatic, but you'll understand, I hope, at the end. So, the story of this summer, I think I was 25, but I can't quite remember. Um, I know I had just gone back to school. I've been in school, in and out of school for a long time after I graduated high school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I wasn't all that devoted and dedicated. But this summer, I had chosen a path. I was going into hospitality management. I knew what I was going to do. I was going to be dedicated. I was going to do really, really well. And summer classes are hard. If you've never taken a summer college class, it's hard. It is a semester long class that has been condensed into like 4 weeks or 8 weeks or however long the summer class is. Usually it's eight, but it's not easy. And so this summer I was taking, I took psychology and I took English 102. I think it was the second English class because I passed the first one. I'd passed that several years before. So I decided I was going to take these two classes, and my English class started first, which was okay. I was able to do my homework and take the class during my trip to New York City, which was fabulous. But it all kind of fell apart after I got home. So I started my psychology class later in the semester. I think it started in July. And I was doing 3 or 4 chapters of psychology a week. And if you've ever read a chapter in psychology, then you understand that a chapter in psychology is a lot. So doing 3 or 4 in a week is a lot. My poor brain was just like, what is going on? What are you doing to me? And at the same time, I was trying to do a 15-page research paper for my English class, which was on, I chose the Fourth Amendment, which is about searches and seizures. So this particular paper, I was writing about how we had our right to privacy in it was several years ago, so I don't quite remember the meat of the paper, but I know it had to do with like our telecommunications and then our rights to be protected and to protect our property. And so it was a lot. So I was doing a lot of research for this paper, as well as trying to do all of my reading for psychology. And I'd been working days and nights as a server, so I'd just gone from working both to mostly doing overnights with a random day shift in the mix. And the reason I did that is because if you've ever worked as a server, you don't get as busy on the overnights. And so I was making more tips during the day, but I still preferred being overnight. I'm more of a nocturnal person. I work third shift now. I absolutely love it. I'm actually going to be heading to work here in a little bit. But so I was working overnights with that random, I think it was a Sunday morning shift is what I was working, as well as going to school full time in the summer, which is a lot. And my roof in my little 1-bedroom apartment was leaking. And I was on the third floor. It was this old, really pretty house that had been converted into 1-bedroom apartments. So it was this 1-bedroom apartment all by myself. And it was mostly great except for my bathroom. The shower in my bathroom was kind of like this. And so anyone who stood in my shower, they were just like hitting their head on the ceiling. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But it was a cute apartment, except for the roof in the ceiling in my bedroom was now leaking. And every time it stormed, we had some really big storms that summer, it would just like rain in my bedroom. And so I'd been sleeping in the living room. And this one morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I picked up a shift, I think, because I had to go into work that day. And I'd worked part of the shift the night before. I don't quite remember the details. All I know is that at 6 o'clock in the morning, my alarm went off on my cell phone and I snoozed it. I always give myself like an hour to snooze my phone because it takes me that long to get up sometimes. So I snoozed the alarm and I rolled over on the mat that I was sleeping on my living room floor because my bedroom was like crazy leaking. And I heard tinkle, 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 like glass breaking. And so I rolled over and I kind of looked in the kitchen, which seems a little silly because I can't see that well, especially without my glasses. And I was just kind of like, why am I looking? Like, I can't see anything. I can't see that far away. And so I rolled back over and I'm like, whatever. If something broke, which I doubt really happened, I'll look at it when I get up. It's fine. And so just as I rolled over, I hear rumble, 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 crash. And I could just feel my spirits sinking because I knew what had happened. I hadn't looked yet, but I knew what had happened. So I got up and I kind of trudged through my living room into my bedroom, and I just looked. And I looked up, and there was this massive, massive hole in my ceiling. And now my bedroom ceiling was on my bedroom floor. It was on my bed. It was on all of my clothes, which included my work uniform. It was just everywhere. And I was like, I can't even deal with this right now. It is still sleepy time for me. So I turned around. I went back into the living room, and I was standing halfway into the living room, and I froze. Because what I knew is that all winter long, all I could hear above my ceiling were the pitter-patter of tiny little feet. And it wasn't just like one pitter-patter, it was lots of pitter-patters, and I was just frozen on the spot. And I heard a soft thump in my bedroom. And so I slowly turn around. And as I'm moving, I hear this padding noise. And so as I turn around, I see coming out of my bedroom this giant, this thing was huge. There was this massive raccoon padding, calm as could be, out of my bedroom. Just like, that stinks. I like it. And I lost it. I lost it. So I ran out of my bedroom, or I ran out of the apartment. I didn't have my glasses on. I didn't have shoes on. I grabbed my cell phone and I left my keys in the door. My lock, you had to use the key to lock it on both sides. I left those in the door. I didn't even bother with it. I screamed like a little girl, and I grabbed my phone and I ran out of there. My phone was only at 30%. And I'm like, it's fine. It should be fine. Because my brother lives right below me. He's in the apartment directly below me. And he'd been dealing with the leakage issues because sometimes if it rained too hard through the leak in my ceiling, it would kind of leak into his apartment a little bit, but it was not a big deal. What was a big deal was the raccoon now in my apartment. So I ran down the stairs and I was banging on his door. And my brother at the time was a manager at Steak and Shake, so he worked third shift too. And I could not wake him up. And I'm calling him, and I'm calling his girlfriend, and neither one of them are answering their phones at the door. And I'm calling my mother, and I'm absolutely hysterical. My mom's not picking up. My pops is not picking up. I call my then boyfriend, and he's not picking up. Like, nobody is answering the phone. Nobody. I am calling I finally called work. And I was really hysterical at this point. I called work. I got the one manager I didn't like. No. There's two. There were 2 minutes. They were punk kids. But I got one of them. And at this point, I'm just like, I can't. There is, I'm not coming into work today. My ceiling is on the floor. But more importantly, there's a raccoon on the ceiling on my floor. And I can't come into work today. I think he thought that I was lying. I think he thought that I was making this up. Because it sounded like he didn't believe me. But I was just like, I can't deal with this. So I didn't want to go outside because I didn't have my keys. And we had a security door on the front of the building. So I could get out, but I wouldn't be able to get back in because my keys were upstairs in my apartment with the raccoon, along with my glasses and my phone charger. And I could slowly see the power on my battery dwindling away because I didn't have a lot to begin with. And people still are not answering the phone. Like, an hour has passed, then an hour and a half has passed, and I still can't get a hold of anybody. And during this, I called my landlord, who was an older gentleman. But I called my landlord and I was like, look, dude, my ceiling just caved in and there was a raccoon in my apartment and somebody needs to handle this because I can't take care of it. First of all, I can't hardly even see what's going on, especially without my glasses to get the raccoon out of my apartment. But these things are vicious and it's huge. And my landlord's response was, well, I'm on my way to Chicago. I won't be home until tonight. But they're harmless. Just pick them up and throw them outside. What? What? You just pick them up and throw them outside, which was not happening. I don't know if the rabies procedures have changed anymore, but once upon a time I was told that in order to combat rabies, you had to get a lot of shots in your stomach. That was not happening. Oh no, not happening. So I'm continuing to try and get a hold of people. I'm still banging on my brother's door and I can't get a hold of anybody. I finally decide that I'm going to go outside without my keys. So I'll be locked out. It's kind of cold. I'm in my pajamas. I don't have shoes on. I go outside and I am going to knock on the maintenance guy's door because I don't know which door it is inside the building, but I know which is his outside of the building. So I go outside, I go around back, I knock on his door, I get no answer. So now I'm locked out of the apartment and I was hysterical to begin with. And at this point I've just lost it. Like I am perpetually crying. There are tears just running down my face. My face was red. My nose was blotched. And I was like, I got a hold of my mom at one point and she's like, well, we'll just call animal control. It'll be fine. You know, hours passed. We'd never heard from them. Not once did we hear from animal control. So now I'm locked outside of the building. I'm cold. My teeth are chattering. At least it's not raining, but I can't get a hold of anybody. And I finally realized that, maybe I can wake my brother up if I ring the doorbell. Because we all had like little buzzers outside of the security door, but inside the little foyer area. So why didn't I think of this before? All right, I haven't had my coffee and there's a raccoon in my apartment. Whatever. I hit the buzzer on my brother's apartment and I hear noise and somebody coming down the stairs because I was on the 3rd floor, my brother's on the 2nd floor. But it wasn't my brother who answered the door. It was the couple who live across the hall from him. And this guy is just laughing at me because I'm probably really just a huge mess. And I can barely talk. And I'm like, keys were upstairs and there's a raccoon in my apartment. He probably thought I was crazy. But really, I was just like, I was beyond able to cope with the situation. And he lets me back inside because he knew who I was. I'd lived there for several months. And I go upstairs and I'm sitting outside of my brother's door. I slump down and I just kind of sit there. My phone is at like 10%. No, it was less than that because actually my phone died. Before I was even able to wake my brother up, my phone died. But I called my mom. I was trying to call my mom again. And I ended up getting work. And the manager answered the phone again. He's like, have you gotten the situation taken care of? And I'm just like, no. I can hear the raccoon in my apartment above me. I can hear him running across the pans I just purchased. I was in the process of washing him and cleaning him and putting him away. I can hear him running across all of my pans. I can hear him running across the floor. And then I hear glass breaking, which is like heart-stopping. In that moment, it was heart-stopping because I could hear all of this glass breaking. It wasn't just like a little crash. It was like this huge crash, crumble, crumble, crumble. And I'm like, what on earth is going on in my apartment? I was too scared to go upstairs and look because these things are crazy creatures. And I didn't want to die. But I'm not able to get a hold of my mom anymore. I'm not able to get a hold of my father. I've been banging on my brother's door. I actually bruised my hands trying to wake my brother up. And my phone died. I couldn't get a hold of anyone. My phone was dead. And I'm just sitting on the floor crying. And I'm also terrified because the slightest pressure change could have popped my apartment door open since it didn't lock and it didn't catch because of the way the lock was put into the door. If I didn't lock it with my keys, then the slightest pressure change would have popped the door open. And so I'm terrified. Like I'm on my hands ready to bolt up and make a run for it in case the raccoon gets out. I'm absolutely terrified. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there on the ground, my eyes are closed, my head's against my brother's door, and the door opens and I fall backwards. At this point, I'm just like, somebody finally woke up. Mom had finally been able to get a hold of my brother, but at this point, it was just too much, and I was frantic. My phone was dead. And all I wanted to do was go back to bed and pretend that this day had never happened. But we had to go upstairs and get my phone charger. And we had to get my glasses. And it had been quiet for a little bit, so we thought maybe it would be safe. So my brother and I would go upstairs together. And you remember those old like Scooby-Doo cartoons where the door would pop open and then you would see one head kind of come in like this, one head and then another head as they all peeked around the door? That's what me and my brother did. We were just like, is it safe? Can we come in yet? And we didn't see anything. We didn't see the raccoon and it was all quiet. So we kind of slowly creep in to my apartment, and I grabbed my glasses and I grabbed my keys. I put on my slippers and I grabbed my phone charger. Before we did anything else, those were the first things that I did. And then we were kind of investigating the living room area a little bit. We didn't really want to go too far into the apartment because there was blood everywhere, like ceiling to floor, just everywhere. And as I was kind of looking at my knitting that I had put on the table, I had a project table at the time for my knitting, I realized that there was glass everywhere. And like there was bloody paw prints on everything. And the raccoon had shattered all of the windows in my living room. And we're like, okay, well, we've got these bloody paw prints. Where do they go? You know, maybe the raccoon died. Or maybe the raccoon got out. But the windows in my living room were double-sided. So he was able to break the first layer, but not the second layer. And then we kind of fall on the paw prints. And we realized that they stopped at the couch. And I had several layers of blankets on the couch because I like to nest. If I curl up anywhere, I usually have like 3 or 4 blankets. I really love to nest. And so we're kind of poking and prodding at the blankets, and they fell to the ground like a dead weight. And so we both screamed and ran from the apartment. I locked the apartment up, and I was like, I'm done. I can't even handle this. Later, we were able to go back and investigate, and it had just been a blanket wrapped inside the blanket, and the raccoon had, in fact, gotten out of one of my bedroom windows. But it broke every other window in the house first, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, all of my windows. And my landlord wanted me to pick this thing up and throw it out of the apartment. Like, seriously? So I was not able to stay in my apartment. We tried for a couple days, but every time it would rain, it would be like this torrential downpour through the ceiling, and it was uninhabitable. So I had to go stay at my parents' house for a while, which was fine. I love my parents. My mom really knows how to cook, so I was like, whatever. But I was in my parents' house, and the first shower that I took in my parents' house, I went downstairs with my robe, I went downstairs to change, and I was like, why is it raining inside the house? We're summer, guys. I swear. The pipe underneath my parents' shower busted. And I don't mean like it was just a little baby leak. It was the floor caved in, and it was just water raining down out of the floor. My dad had to tear the entire shower out because the pipe burst underneath of the cast iron tubs. We had to tear everything out. He had to tear out the floor and the subfloor and replace everything. Absolute disaster. And then, to top it all off, I was working my crazy work shifts at work, and there was this one particular night where another server and I kind of got into it in the dining room, which I'm completely against. Worked a lot of service. I'm all about hospitality and taking care of people. I love to take care of people. That's kind of why I was really passionate about doing the YouTube thing and reaching out to people, because I love people. But I was so mad at this guy because he wasn't following proper procedure. And I really think that if you want to do your job and you want to do it well, you should follow the procedures that were set out by the management within reason. Unless they tell you to do something stupid, you should do what you're told to do and do what you were trained to do. And he wasn't. And this guy and I, we just didn't get along anyway because I thought he was creepy. But we got into it in the middle of the dining room, and I was fuming. I was absolutely livid with this kid. And so my general manager and I decided to do a product run. We had to go a couple hours away to another city to where the franchise was located. The head of the franchise was located to drop some product off because one of the other stores was out of sausage, which was fine. It was going to give me time to cool off before my morning shift. Because if you hadn't noticed, I like to work crazy death shifts, and it's what I'm all about. But we get to the city, we get back, and he gets pulled over, and I can't drive. So let's preface this whole situation with, I can't drive. When he got taken by the police and I was kind of left there, they were like, okay, you can drive the car, right? Yeah, no. So this was this whole fiasco. And they just kind of left me. I just kind of got left. In between where I was supposed to be and where I was to help him drop the product off. I was halfway home, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? And my phone was almost dead again. The running moral of the story is keep your phone charged. So my mom had to come pick me up because I couldn't drive. And we finally got home. I didn't even have to work my shift that day because by the time I got home, my shift was over. I was gone for the entire thing. And I turned the paper that I was working on. I finally got it turned in. I was, freaking out about all of these things. I moved back into my apartment because the roof gets fixed. And we have the first night that I'm there, we have a huge storm. And I turned the light on in my bedroom, and now there's water just leaking down my light. And raccoons. There were more raccoons above my ceiling. So thankfully my ceiling didn't cave in again. But I guess don't ever live in old buildings. But anyway, that is the story of the worst summer of my life. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'm going to go to work.